Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. Dynamite tonight was from the Fertitta Center in Houston, Texas. And Dynamite tonight, I thought it was an awesome show. This was a great show tonight. This was better than last week's show. And on Dynamite tonight, we saw Sting and Darby Allin versus 2.0 in a Texas Tornado match. Sammy Guevara ended up taking on Shawn Spears. We had the AEW World Tag Team titles on the line where the Bucks defended the titles against the Jurassic Express, against Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. We saw Thunder Rosa versus Penelope Ford. And in the main event, it was MJF versus Chris Jericho, the last match in the 5 Labors of Jericho. But overall, Dynamite was a great show tonight. Really loved and enjoyed Dynamite tonight. But let's jump right in to the Dynamite review. For AEW this week, it's going to be a very historic, memorable week. Because on Friday, we are going to see the debut of CM Punk on AEW Rampage. If Punk decides to. But it's going to be a historic and memorable week. Not only for AEW, but for us wrestling fans. On Friday, Rampage is going to be taking place from the United Center in Chicago, and we're all hyping it up, we're all predicting it. On Friday, it will be a historic, memorable night, because we will witness, possibly, the debut of CM Punk in AEW. CM Punk, AEW, end up signing him, so what better way to debut Punk in his hometown in Chicago on Friday on Rampage. And the fans are going to pop very loudly if Punk, does show up on Rampage this Friday. And if he does, like I said, it's going to be a historic, memorable night and a historic moment that we will never forget. Punk has been out of wrestling for 7 years. So it's going to be historic if he does show up on Rampage. And I can't wait to see if it happens. We all know it's going to happen, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a historic night. So let's jump right into the review. So Dynamite kicked off tonight with the Texas Tornado match. It was Sting and Darby Allin versus 2.0. And this was Sting's in-ring return on TNT in 20 years. This is the first match that Sting has wrestled on TNT in 20 years. Of course, his last match was on WCW Nitro. So it's been 20 years since Sting has wrestled on TNT. And this was a great match here. This was an awesome match. The crowd was so into this match, and the crowd was hot during the night. This was a great Houston crowd that came out for Dynamite tonight. But we saw Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. They end up making their way out to the ring. They had something to say, but as they made their way to the ring, both Moxley and Kingston got attacked by Daniel Garcia and 2.0. So Matt Lee of 2.0 ended up telling Sting and Darby Allin that they just took out their boys. They took out Moxley and Kingston. And now they got nothing. So Matt Lee ended up telling them to get out to the ring right now. So they were calling out Sting and Darby Allin. So we had Sting end up coming out, and then Darby Allin. So Darby Allin ended up attacking 2.0 from behind with his skateboard. Sting got into the ring, ended up hitting a stinger splash. Sting went out to the crowd. He was throwing some shots. Darby Allin and Matt Lee ended up in the upper concourse area. They were battling through the crowd. Daniel Garcia ended up getting involved, and Darby Allin ended up getting hit up against the concrete wall of the Fertitta Center. So we had a chant of "Let's go Sting" and "You still got it." Eddie Kingston ended up beating up Daniel Garcia. He ended up taking Garcia to the back. Darby Allin then went under the ring, and he ended up retrieving a table. Sting and Darby Allin ended up getting the table into the ring. Darby Allin was then sent out to the ramp. 2.0 then bought out Darby's skateboard. So 2.0 then delivered a double suplex to Darby Allin on the skateboard. Darby Allin ended up hitting the skateboard back first. So Sting was in the ring. He was fighting off 2.0. Sting ended up going for the punches in the corner. And 2.0 ended up breaking it up. They ended up scooping Sting off of the top. And 2.0 then delivered a double powerbomb on Sting. And Sting went through the table. Sting did not sell the table shot. And when Sting went through the table, he got right back up. And I was shocked. That was an awesome spot in the match. 2.0 couldn't believe it. So Darby Allin then delivered a double drop kick to 2.0. Sting went for the Scorpion Death Drop to both 2.0. Sting then locked in a double Scorpion Death Lock. And 2.0, they both ended up tapping out. So there you go. Sting and Darby Allin ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a great match. This was an awesome match. Really enjoyed it. Sting moved pretty good here. That no-sold powerbomb that Sting took through the table from 2.0. You could tell that Sting is going to be feeling that in the morning tomorrow. You can tell he's going to be feeling that table shot in the morning. But I was shocked at how Sting got up from that, considering he did not sell that shot. He no-sold that shot through the table. And then we saw a video that was done before Dynamite went on the air. And it showed Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara ended up proposing to his girlfriend, Pam. Which, if you watch Sammy Guevara's YouTube channel where he does vlogs, he vlogs from Dynamite. Of course, vlogs his life. You already know, Guevara and his girlfriend Pam on there. They did videos together on the channel. And, of course, Guevara ended up proposing to her. She ended up saying yes. They ended up hugging in the ring. And that was pretty much that. But congrats to Sammy Guevara and his girlfriend Pam. Or his fiancée now, Pam. So it was nice. And then it cut backstage to Tully Blanchard and Shawn Spears. They were both sarcastically clapping for Sammy Guevara's proposal. And Shawn Spears was like, slim pickings in San Antonio. He kept saying, for one night only, he'll let Pam be an honorary member of the Pinnacle. And she can be on top. So that was what Shawn Spears had to say. Of course, he has the match with Sammy Guevara, which was, of course, the next match. So with Sammy Guevara versus Shawn Spears, Tully Blanchard, of course, came out along with Shawn Spears. Sammy Guevara came out, and when he came out, he got attacked from behind by Shawn Spears. Guevara ended up fighting Spears off, send him off the ramp and down to the floor. Guevara then ended up hitting a big flip off of the stage, and he went down on Spears. Guevara then went over to Pam and gave her a kiss. Shawn Spears and Sammy Guevara end up throwing chops at each other. Spears got sent into the barricade by Sammy Guevara. So Tully Blanchard ended up helping Shawn Spears deliver a pile driver to Sammy Guevara. Aubrey Edwards ended up seeing that, but the match didn't start yet. The match didn't officially start because both Guevara and Shawn Spears didn't get into the ring at that point. So Guevara and Spears then finally got into the ring. The bell ended up ringing. Sammy Guevara ended up rolling out to the outside. Tully Blanchard and Shawn Spears tried to do a pile driver again, but Aubrey Edwards then ended up sending Tully Blanchard to the back, and that got a chance of Aubrey from the Houston crowd. And they were fired up during this match also, the Houston crowd. So Tully Blanchard ended up smacking Aubrey Edwards, with his coat. And he ended up going to the back. So Shawn Spears ended up dropping a knee pad. He ended up throwing some knees into Guevara's face. So Sammy Guevara ended up booting Spears in the face because Spears was flirting with Guevara's now fiancee Pam. So Sammy Guevara ended up doing a double springboard cutter, which Shawn Spears ended up moving out of the way. Spears ended up looking to go for a powerbomb, but he didn't go for it, so he decided to chop Sammy Guevara in the chest. So Spears and Guevara were battling on the apron, and they both went up to the top rope. Spears then gave Guevara the middle finger, and Sammy ended up hitting a cutter to the ring, which that was awesome. That cutter looked really cool off the top. So Spears and Guevara end up on the second rope. We had Spears end up delivering the Avalanche C4 on Guevara. Went for the pin. Guevara ended up kicking out at 2. So this brought the crowd to their feet. They were into this match. So Spears ended up dragging Guevara over to the bridge barricade, and it went back and forth. Spears ended up taking a Death Valley driver on the barricade from Guevara. Guevara ended up getting Spears in the ring. He ended up going up to the top, delivered the 630. He ended up hitting the 630 on Spears. He went for the cover. Spears ended up kicking out, which Sammy Guevara was shocked at that. So Sammy Guevara ended up delivering knee strikes to Spears' face, which busted Shawn Spears open. So Guevara then ended up hitting the GTH on Spears. And he went for the cover. So there you go. Sammy Guevara ended up winning the match. Overall, awesome match. This was a very good match. Really enjoyed it. And, congrats once again to Sammy Guevara and his fiancee Pam. But awesome match. And then we went backstage. Tony Schiavone ended up talking with Christian Cage, who is, of course, the Impact World Champion, which he won the title this past Friday on Rampage by defeating Kenny Omega, which, it was reported, a few months ago that Omega was going to drop the Impact World Championship. He held, 3 titles. He holds the AAA Mega Championship. He held the Impact World Championship, and he holds the AEW World Championship. So he had to lose one. And that was the Impact World Championship. So Christian was there, Christian Cage, he was talking with Tony Schiavone about his win over Kenny Omega last week on Rampage. So Don Callis then ended up stepping in. Don Callis ended up saying that he remembers when he gave Christian Cage his first big break back in the day. Of course, they were part of the Brood. And Don Callis, back then, when he was part of the Brood, he had long hair. So Don Callis ended up saying that he may have won with the help of the chair. He ended up saying that he's finally going to get that 5-star match that he always wanted. So Callis ended up saying that nothing has changed and that he's make big moves. And Christian is still wrestling matches. Christian ended up saying that Kenny Omega already lost one title to him. And that he is in Omega's head. So Christian Cage ended up saying that at All Out, he's going to take Omega's most prized possession. So Christian ended up finishing it off by saying that Don Callis thinks he's the smartest guy in the room at all times. But Christian ended up saying about Don Callis that Don Callis will always be a carny piece of shit. So that was what Christian had to say. But this was a pretty decent segment here. So then we went into the ring and we saw Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was in the ring with Dan Lambert, who is the American Top Team. So Dan Lambert ended up saying that AEW has jumped aboard the cancel culture train after they sent out Lance Archer to punch him and silence him. He wanted to say that this time he brought backup. He brought former UFC champions, Junior Dos Santos and Andre Arlovsk. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. So Lambert ended up saying that if anyone else in the back is feeling froggy, they better jump. So Lambert starts ripping on the fans. He ended up saying that they aren't here because they are hardcore. They're here because they're hard up. So Lance Archer then made his way out. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page end up jumping Lance Archer from behind. And so Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page were stomping away at Lance Archer. And pretty much that was basically that. So what we're going to get? We're going to get a 2-on-1 handicap match now with Lance Archer and Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Could see that. Could see that going. Overall, this was a decent, segment here. So then we went backstage and we saw Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho ended up saying that for the past 4 weeks, he's endured the labors of Jericho. Jericho ended up talking about all the punishment he took along the way. He ended up saying that tonight he gets the ultimate prize against MJF. Jericho then went on to say that he has the momentum and the upper hand over MJF. He kept saying that fans will sing him to the ring as well. He kept saying Jericho up and my jerk-off friend down, who he was referring to as MJF. But, in the match, Jericho can't use the Judas effect. If he used the Judas effect, then Sammy. But it was a decent segment. And then we went to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho was backstage. He kept saying that for the past 4 weeks, he's endured the labors of Jericho. He kept talking about all the punishment that he took along the way. Jericho ended up saying that tonight he gets the ultimate prize against MJF. Jericho ended up saying that he has the momentum and the upper hand over MJF. He kept saying that fans will sing him to the ring as well. Jericho up and my jerk-off friend down, which of course he was referring to MJF. But this was a decent segment here. And then we had the AEW World Tag Team titles on the line. The Young Bucks versus the Jurassic Express. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. This was a pretty decent match here. Of course, with the Bucks, out came Brandon Cutler, the Good Brothers, Michael Nakazawa, Don Callis. For the Jurassic Express, of course, we had Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt. So Don Callis ended up going on commentary for the match. We saw Nick Jackson and Jungle Boy end up starting off the match. It was back and forth. Nick Jackson ended up evading Jungle Boy down on the floor. Jungle Boy ended up getting splashed by his opponent in the corner. And Jungle Boy was working over Nick Jackson. Luchasaurus then ended up hitting a clothesline from the corner to Nick Jackson. So Luchasaurus then got into the ring. He was landing some chops. So Matt Jackson ended up trying to go for a running crossbody, and he ended up getting caught in midair. So at the end of the match, we had Jungle Boy deliver a backslide, but Matt Jackson ended up finding out of it, and both Matt and Nick end up hitting the BTE trigger, and they went for the cover. And there you go. The Bucks ended up winning the match, retaining the World Tag Team titles. But we all knew that the Bucks were going to retain. Post-match, Gallows ended up having Christian Cage on his shoulders, and he ended up bringing him back into the ring. So we had the Elite end up beating up on them. Omega ended up barking at Christian as Christian ended up punching away. Don Callis was delivering a cheap stomp. Omega then ended up lifting up Christian. He ended up pinning the one-winged angel. And Don Callis ended up counting 1, 2, 3. Which, that was funny. But overall, it was a pretty good segment there. And then we had Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was talking with Britt Baker, of course the AEW Women's World Champion, with Rebel by her side, and also her new backup, who is Jamie Hayter. Britt Baker ended up saying that she knew she needed backup when going up against Red Velvet. So Hayter ended up saying that she and Britt Baker go way back, and it was easy to say yes to help her out. So Hayter ended up saying that next week on Dynamite, she wants to take on Red Velvet and fix the attitude. So Britt Baker ended up recalling that Red Velvet, saying, red wasn't her color. She ended up saying that she knows for sure gold is not Red Velvet's color, and that it never will be. So that was what took place. But overall, it was pretty decent segment there. So then we saw Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy ended up cutting a promo about the best friends, thinking he's picking on Wheeler Yuta. Matt Hardy ended up saying that he's just an equal opportunity ass kisser, and that he'll take on Wheeler Yuta, Chucky T, or he'll kick Orange Cassidy's ass if he keeps poking his nose in his business. So Orange Cassidy ended up saying maybe they need to find out if Matt Hardy can actually do it. So that was that. And then we saw Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was in the ring. He ended up introducing Paul White. Yes, Paul White, formerly known as The Big Show, Yeah, that's my Big Show impression. So Paul White ended up saying that it felt so good to take out the factory last week. Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, QT Marshall. Paul White ended up saying that he has an announcement for the fans. He then got interrupted by QT Marshall, along with Nick Comoroto and Aaron Solo. Marshall ended up saying that in AEW, they don't build up the fans' anticipation just to let them down. So Paul White was getting annoyed by QT's babbling. QT Marshall ended up saying that instead of trying to explain this to the morons in Houston, which got boos from the crowd, QT ended up saying that he is privileged to know a lot of information, and has a photo put up on the screen. So on the screen, we saw an X-ray of Paul White's hip. So QT Marshall ended up talking about Paul White having a bunch of surgeries just to have a normal life. So then we saw another photo. And this other photo was of White's side and a stitched portion of his hip. It was a giant stitched portion of White's hip. So Paul White then ended up calling QT plugs. He called QT plugs. And he ended up saying that All Out, he has a match with QT Marshall. And that was how the segment ended. But who the fuck asked for Paul White and QT Marshall? This match will be on the buy-in. And if you watch AEW, you know what the buy-in is for their pay-per-views. The buy-in is their pre-show. This match will certainly be on the buy-in. I hope it's not on the main card for All Out. That would be awful. The match would be awful if it was on the All Out main card. I mean, do we really need this match? Do we really need QT Marshall versus Paul White? That will be my bathroom break, and I know that will possibly be all yours, bathroom break. Bathroom break match there. We gotta see Paul White. Unbelievable. I hope this is a one-off match for Paul White. After this match, I don't want to see Paul White back in the ring. I really don't. And then we went backstage, and we saw Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill ended up making an announcement. She ended up announcing that she will face Kiera Hogan this Friday on Rampage. So Jade Cargill going to be in action this Friday on Rampage. It's going to be awesome. You know, Jade Cargill, I said it before, very talented, very athletic in the ring, and she could be the next AEW Women's World Champion. I think she's going to be the one to defeat Britt Baker, give Britt Baker a long run with the AEW Women's World Championship. And Jade Cargill's, like I said, she's going to be the one that is possibly going to defeat Britt Baker. And that will lead to her being the new AEW Women's World Champion. So we went backstage and we saw Don Callis. Don Callis ended up saying that the Young Bucks are so dominant that they should go take a break. So Tony Schiavone then ended up announcing that there's going to be a tag title Eliminator tournament. And it's going to feature 4 teams. One is the Varsity Blondes. Second is Private Party, then Jurassic Express, and the Lucha Bros. And the winner of the tournament will get a shot at the World Tag Team titles with the Young Bucks, which will take place in Chicago and in a steel cage. So that's going to possibly be the match set for All Out there. So can already tell it's going to happen at All Out. And then we went to Taz. Taz was in the ring with his son Hook. Taz then ended up introducing Ricky Starks, who is the FTW champion. Starks ended up getting on the mic, and he ended up saying that he's holding the title for a very long time. He then ended up wanting Brian Cage to come out so that they can have a one-on-one talk. So then we saw Powerhouse Hobbs. You know, he was standing over, Brian Cage because Cage got attacked. Cage ended up getting back up, and both him and Hobbs started swinging away. Starks ended up saying to cut the video and run to the back. So that was that. But overall, decent little segment. Then we went backstage and we saw Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was interviewing the Death Triangle, Pac, Phoenix and Penta. And Tony Schiavone ended up mentioning that their potential matches at All Out. Pac ended up saying that the pay-per-view will be a perfect place for his match. He ended up saying that it's the same place he destroyed Kenny Omega on only 2 weeks' notice. So then Pac was wondering what chance Andrade has against him. And so then we see Andrade, El Idolo, and Chavo Guerrero come up. Andrade ended up saying that if Pac wants the match, they have some conditions. So there was a stack of papers for the Death Triangle for them to read it over. So Chavo Guerrero ended up telling the Lucha Bros that they will never be champions with a boss like him, with a boss like Pac. So that was that. So you're going to have Brock there with Malachi Black. Malachi Black is going to win the match. You know, they want to keep this hot streak going of Malachi Black, you know, winning matches. So then we saw what we're going to see next week on Dynamite. Of course, the tag team Eliminator tournament kicks off with the Varsity Blondes versus the Lucha Bros. And we're going to have Red Velvet versus Jamie Hayter. Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy. Malachi Black versus Brock Anderson. And we're going to have Jade Cargill versus Kiera Hogan. A lot of stuff. So then we went backstage. We saw Jon Moxley end up saying what happened earlier in the day and that everybody wants a piece of him and they're coming from everywhere. Moxley ended up talking about the Elite and Kenny Omega needed so much protection. I want to say that Paige couldn't get the job done when it came to winning the title. So he then ended up telling Christian that he'll run through him and that he should have stayed retired. Well, that's kind of fucked up to say. So Moxley ended up saying that he really wants to show who is at the top of the food chain. So he then ended up calling Daniel Garcia. Moxley ended up saying that the ringside doctor will be there for him. So that was that. And then we had the main event. MJF versus Chris Jericho in the 5 Labors of Jericho matches that we previously had. Overall, this was a good match. Jericho didn't even come out to theme music, of course, after the end of last week with MJF. So we had Jericho was smiling. He was clapping for MJF and Jericho. So we had Jericho smiling. He was clapping for them. We had them battle out to the floor. And there was a point where MJF ends up grabbing the camera. And he's mimicking Jericho. And he ended up giving the fans the finger. So he ended up spinning around. And you end up seeing Jericho. Which says right here that Jericho ended up punching him right in the gut. MJF then spun around. And Jericho ended up punching MJF right in the face. Jericho then got a hold of the camera. He was giving the camera the middle finger and smiling. So he ended up going to smack MJF with it. But MJF ended up getting out of the ring. Jericho ended up getting thrown shoulder first into the ring post. And it led to MJF end up kicking away at Jericho. And then at the end of the match, we had MJF end up rolling back. He ended up flattening Jericho with the salt of the earth. And Jericho ended up tapping out. So MJF ended up winning the match. But overall, this was a good match. Really liked it. Really enjoyed it. And the crowd was hot for the match. But overall, Dynamite tonight was a great show. It was an awesome show. But anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Dynamite. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Bye.